Hell.
Tune in to the Shrink and Wrap Show here on Tan Talk Radio.
Our stories and our topics will include, but are not limited to, everyday issues. We're here for you, for our listeners. We want to know what's important to you.
So again, don't miss us
on Tan Talk Radio. Tune in again, Shrink and Wrap Show.
We'll see you then.
That's the Shrink and Wrap Show every Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
We're back in Dade City. Your adventure begins at the Bay Area Renaissance Festival. 8 stages of exciting and hilarious entertainment. Full contact live armored jousting, mermaids, fairies, pirates, Vikings, and more. Endless shopping at more than 100 different artesian booths. The Bay Area Renaissance Festival. Family fun for all. Weekends, February 19th through April 3rd. Mark your calendars and get your tickets now at BayAreaRenfest.com.
Hello there, Tampa Bay. This is former NFL and college football coach Jimmy Johnson. Listen to the Kelly Show every Monday starting at 5 p.m. They can sure use the attention.
And this is former Major League Baseball player, Hall of Famer Wade Boggs. I also hope you listen to the Kelly Show every Monday starting at 5 p.m. They can darn sure use the money.
Hi there. This is marine wildlife artist and conservationist Dr. Guy Harvey. Please listen to the Kelly Show every Monday starting at 5 p.m. They need to feel worthy.
Hi, this is Prior Smith speaking from Toronto with an invitation to join me Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. and 12 noon for Canada Calling, the daily update of news from home for vacationing Canadians, right here on WTAN Clearwater Dunedin, 1340 AM and 106.1 FM, on WDCF in Dade City, 1350 and 102.3 FM, and on WZHR in Zephyr Hills at 1400 and 104.3 FM. That's Canada Calling on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Thinking about starting your own business? Then you need to listen to the Entrepreneur Opportunity Hour every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. There's nothing more rewarding than starting your own business. Gene and Mr. Dukes will bring you tips and advice from themselves and other entrepreneurs that will help you get started. Have you already started your own business? Then call in and share your story to help other entrepreneurs. That's the Entrepreneur Opportunity Hour every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Tampa Bay's Tan Talk, entertaining and informative radio for the Sunshine State.
Imagine, if you will, submitted for your approval, several enigmatic tales and stories on a very curious radio show. The signpost up ahead reads that you have entered the ozone. Oh my, welcome to the ozone right here on Tan Talk Radio Network, where you can listen to us from Sarasota all the way to Dade City. Thanks again for my Bobby the Board Up, my boy, hooking me up and hooking us all up with hopefully will be a chock full of great show, and talk about the beginning there, talking about enigmatic stories. Today I'm going to just deal with one kind of diverse and multifaceted enigmatic story, and that is the WBC. My goodness, for those of you that enjoy baseball, and I know we got a lot of fans of the Rays, and obviously in this area here, you've got so many spring training teams, the Rays, the Yankees, you name it, the Phillies and the Blue Jays, the whole AL East is well represented. But this was about World Baseball Classic. If you don't know it, you should, because it's going to be coming to you every 3 years. Rob Manfred, MLB's commissioner, yesterday on the field, and I was with him because I had the pleasure of being a guest over at Marlin Stadium, Lone Park Depot Stadium, ballpark as they call it, to be able to watch not only that game last night, but the crazy game the night before, when they came back and they call it in Japan, sayonara walk-off hit by a guy named Murakami the night before that on Monday night, and then also visited with them on their practice on Sunday. You may not know, I think I mentioned it the first week, that I have a long history with Japan that dates back to 1989 when I first went there the first time. I actually was there on 2 different occasions and played parts of 5+ seasons with a team called the Cebu Lions, and we won 3 back-to-back Japan Series championships. Their season parallels the major league. Spring training around the same time, and then they have a full-on season, a slate, fewer games. They play about 145 games compared to 162, and then, their own October Classic called the Japan Series. But one of the jewels for them is being able to put together an all-star team of their pro-level teams and compete in this WBC. It goes back to 06, 09, 13, 17, and then, of course, a hiccup because of the pandemic. It took a little hiatus for 6 years and then came back now in 23. The uniqueness of this WBC, of course, it's never going to be the World Cup soccer. It's not really meant to get, that type of competition. It's different because of the fact that it has to be done during spring training. There really is no other time to do it. You can't do it after the season. It's too taxing on the pitchers. And you're in the midst of our beloved NFL season in November after a World Series. So this is the opportunistic time. And what ended up happening in this World Baseball Classic is the greatest 2 players in the world, one being Mike Trout, what I consider to be the best all-around player in this world and maybe in the universe, ended up facing off to end this great series against a guy by the name of Shohei Ohtani that I've known since he was a teenager, and my travels in Japan, getting to watch him play not only at the pro level there, but I got to watch him play in high school. So this kid throws 100 and hits the ball 400 feet. He's incredible. And they two, who are teammates with the Angels, matched up for the last out, which ended up being a strikeout and a victory for the team Japan. This has so many elements to it, ladies and gentlemen, because of the fact that it's not just a tournament about nations. Oh, by the way, great choice by MLB to change the kind of semifinal and finals host city being Miami. Albeit that the Marlins, very much unfortunately like the Rays, don't draw well during the regular season for a plethora of reasons. Both teams, their teams haven't been, that great. Their big players get sold off. Some political issues there, even with the former owner in Loria and how he handled things. But the bottom line is Miami is a hotbed for what? Cubans, Puerto Ricans, Venezuelans, Mexicans, Americans, not so much Japanese, but Japanese will go wherever their team plays. They'll go to Alaska, it doesn't matter. So it ended up being a situation that kind of was so good for MLB. In the past, the WBC has been finalized over in California, in LA or in San Diego. And I thought MLB really picked the right place. Last night was almost 40,000 fans, both American of about 30,000 and about 10,000 Japanese fans. And it was just glorious to see this kind of culminate. I'm going to bring my nephew, the one and only Al D 2.0, to come on. And he was watching the game with me yesterday, and we had a blast. Al D, how you doing, buddy?
Doing fantastic.
Listen, give me your overall take of last night as far as just the feel of this game and what it meant to baseball and MLB to be able to pull this off the way they did.
I mean, talk about a victory for Team Japan, but for MLB and just the sport of baseball. I mean, I think if you look at, baseball circles, obviously all of us that are, near and dear with baseball love this tournament and love the excitement and everything around it. But I think the reach was bigger than any previous iteration of the World Baseball Classic. I know several people that are not baseball fans. They don't follow Major League Baseball. They don't really know, who's who, what's what, who are tuned into this series, man, tuned into this tournament. Friends of mine, they got involved and started kind of following it. I think it was such a great, marketing opportunity for the sport of baseball to grow the game that we love so much. And we were very fortunate to see it come to fruition yesterday here in Miami.
Yeah, no doubt. In fact, after the game, when I jumped on the field and celebrated with some of my homies, as I call them, a lot of their coaching staff were guys that I played with or against, and the guys that are on the team there I know very well. I also got to talk to MLB president Tony Clark and one of their head, the VP of marketing and memorabilia, Evan Kaplan, and they were saying that, put it this way, the Italy versus Japan game drew 62 million viewers on TV to watch that game. They say that this was going to be trump that. It's going to be one of the most watched baseball game in the history of professional baseball, probably upwards over of 70 million people. I mean, now you're getting into some crazy numbers of viewers and people that are tuned into this.
I mean, for the listeners who didn't have a chance to watch this firsthand, guys, yesterday I got to see a spectacle. Orestes Destrade is a force in the nation of Japan. And hear me out. I think that what this tournament and this sport does is something bigger than baseball, man. Think about taking cultures and different groups of people. If you talk about, a big movement in the United States the last few years, right, has been inclusiveness and diversity and cultures blending. Oh my goodness. I couldn't believe just what this sport of baseball did to unite Japanese fans with Latin American fans, with U.S. fans, with, just you yourself as a microcosm of that. Just
Correct.
Think of a Cuban baseball player going to Japan and, your career ended there almost 30 years ago, and you're still a lightning rod of excitement, exuberance for those fans. I got to see the Japanese fans firsthand engage with you, and it was so fun to watch. And it's just, I think it's really points to how beautiful the game of baseball is as just a vehicle to connect people and cultures together.
No doubt. I mean, for me personally, WBC is kind of like, again, you might say it's a microcosm. It really is. I mean, you think about the teams that were really represented well in this WBC, the Latino teams, whether it be Mexico, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Cuba made a great push, albeit a team that was kind of not their most powerful in the WBC in past years when they have been, and they kind of almost upended a bunch of guys. And then you have my ties to America, obviously, raised here. So I feel I'm Cuban born, American bred, but also when so Japanese, and they do not forget, man. I mean, thankfully, I played on a team that won back-to-back titles, and I, did a lot of great things on the field personally for myself, but they're such diehard fans and respectful fans. And I got a chance to really kind of feel that yesterday, from the regular people to, we were invited, and I brought my nephew Albert to the booth of probably the biggest sponsor of all in the WBC, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Watanabe, who is the chairman of the board of Nippon Express. Their billboards were all over Lone Park Stadium, and we got a chance to hang out with him for a couple of innings, and he was so excited, almost like a kid, when we visited that suite, wasn't it, Albert?
Oh, it's fantastic, man. I it's not every day I get to see up close just the true passion. You always hear, baseball's really big in Japan. Baseball's, really huge there. But you're seeing, this guy was a mogul. We're basically looking at a guy who's, to put it in perspective, almost like a Shark Tank type guy, a Mark
no
Cuban
doubt
type figure, seeing and then interacting with you. And he was like a kid in a candy store, just sitting there watching, just getting to hang with you and just getting to enjoy taking the game of baseball, man. Like, they really, really love and appreciate the sport. And I think that, I think Rob Manfred's tenure has obviously been, heavily criticized from a lot of different angles. But I think this, for him, just having somewhat of a hand in this tournament is definitely a major feather in the cap for Manfred and his tenure as the commissioner of Major League Baseball.
Well, I tell you from firsthand, and being on the field during the celebration and the medal awarding, he had a smile from ear to ear when he finished handing out those medals. He came by and he said hello and gave me a hug, and as did Tony Clark. So when you look at both sides of MLBP along with MLBPA, this was so successful. About the only like little hiccup, and it's not little, let's be candid, albeit it was a very weird injury was Edwin Diaz and the celebration, and unfortunately, wrecking his knee. But other than that, I mean, it was a beautiful WBC. I want to ask you one thing about Shohei Ohtani and to show you kind of what type of a person I think this kid is and this man is. Did you, read the comments about what his pep talk to his players was before they took on Team America yesterday?
I did not. Hit me.
So what he said was, and they have it on video, and basically paraphrasing what he said in Japanese was, hey, I know that we kind of look at Team America in awe. For one day, we need to step back from being so, enamored by them and in awe. And for one day, just put that aside so we can be champions. And the only way that we can beat them is to not be so enamored by them. And so let's go out there and fight. I thought it was great because how many times do you get that David and Goliath? And a lot of times the reason that, Goliath wins is because of just the David doesn't have the confidence. And he's like, oh my God, I'm going up against this wall. I can't climb it. But for one day, in one championship, one moment, I mean, you can overcome anything. And I thought that was phenomenal speech.
I mean, it's something that shows his maturity. It shows his poise. It's something that baseball needs to see. Obviously, Shohei has not had the opportunity, unfortunately, to compete on baseball's biggest stage in terms of the postseason. But, I mean, come on. You can't draw it up any better.
No,
in the last
you
5
can't.
years of baseball, you have Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, 1A, 1B, right? Who is the best baseball player walking the earth? And how often can you have a championship game decided in the ninth inning with the two best players in the sport facing each other mano a mano, and they just so happen to be teammates? I mean, you literally, if Hollywood wrote it, you wouldn't be able to sell that.
No, and I think that's one of the reasons that Rob Manfred and Tony Clark were both, as soon as they finished giving out those medals, they were, seriously, I was right there like 10 feet from them, and they were looking at each other like, can you believe this? This is like unfathomable. It was already a success to begin with, whichever team won. But to have that matchup at the end and have it be such a dramatic at bat. Oh, and by the way, to make it even juicier, Yu Darvish, an incredible pitcher, gives up a solo jack to Kyle Schwarber to make it 3-2, to make it that dramatic, so that at bat really, really counted, because it was 3-1, 3-2, he could have tied the game up. Incredible. Actually wanted to ask you also about where do you see, do you think that this fits? Yeah, because a lot of people kind of criticize it and they're like, ho-hum, why do they do this? Do you see that it makes sense to continue this what they're looking at now, 3 years?
Absolutely. I think that this tournament breathes a little bit of life into expanding the reach. I think let's be honest, even though, for you and I and for a lot of the listeners, baseball might be the sport that's nearest and dearest to our heart. When you look at the market share in terms of sports fandom, you've seen the NFL continue to become a monster, especially in the United States, right? You've seen the NBA not only grow here in popularity in America, but the international appeal of the NBA is massive. They've blown that sport up internationally over the last 20 to 25 years. And I feel like Major League Baseball's kind of lagged behind a little bit in that capacity. I feel like baseball, at least the pundits' perspective on baseball, is that our viewership is shrinking, right? That the fan base is getting older. Young people are not as attracted to getting into baseball as much. That's kind of the narrative that's being sold. I think this tournament is a fantastic way to, dip into other markets, dip into, places where baseball isn't prevalent. You look at the teams in this tournament, the Czech Republic, Australia, places like that haven't really, Italy, other places that haven't really been known for baseball are starting to just start to dip their toe in ever so slightly into the water. And that can only be a net positive for the sport of baseball, in my opinion.
I definitely agree. It's going to be a tough climb, to be candid with you, because baseball is a different sport as far as taking it on. You know what I mean? It's kind of complicated. I think two great American sports are it's difficult to really make them super popular internationally. And that is, American football and American baseball. Basketball is already, kind of feathering out and been very, very popular all over. In fact, you're seeing it because we're getting so many like European basketball players that are coming back and guys that are going over. And then, of course, you've got, soccer is just massive. But I will tell you something, Shohei Ohtani adds a different flavor beyond being Japanese. It's just what he's doing is so otherworldly that it's just that. It gets, recorded worldly. And I think it'll continue. Oh, by the way, little Albert, he's going to be a free agent next year. Where does he go? Just, the old speculation, we love to speculate, about all these quarterbacks and where they're going to land in the NFL. Can you imagine him, let's say, hypothetically, in pinstripes, for 8 or 9 or a 10-year contract? He's still young enough. He's in his, 27, 28. I would think it would take probably about $500 million, but I would think, what would be the top 3 places you would see him going if he opts to not stay in Anaheim?
Yeah, that is going to be the not $1 million question,
$500 million question.
$500 million question. The Yankees are obviously, what a setup for him, right? The market in New York, the money behind it, the lore and glory of being part of the New York Yankees franchise. One of the teams that really embraced Japanese talent. They've had some really big stars.
They've done very well with Japanese talent. You're absolutely right.
Right.
And have a following. They have a following already for those that live in New York and also, follow them back in Japan.
100%, and I think it makes sense for them. I think obviously the Padres have shown, under AJ Preller's guidance that they're not scared to spend ridiculous money on top tier talent. So I would never count them out of the conversation. But, I'll tell you who I think my favorite team is to go get them. I think this team, if you look at the moves they've done or haven't made, I think they're positioning themselves for a big run at Shohei Ohtani, and that team is the Los Angeles Dodgers.
I know, and that doesn't scare me because, it's not like I wouldn't think that would be a bad move. It's just that I kind of feel like he needs to be in the East Coast, and I think he's the type of talent that could just go, stratospheric. And the East Coast can create that for you, So I think it's one of the 2 New York teams. You also have, the owner of the Mets and Cohen, with deep pockets and not as afraid to show it. It could be at the end a bash between, the Yankees and the Mets going toe to toe to try to acquire that incredible talent. It's going to be interesting. Let's see how this season plays out firstly. But I think that's where it's going to end up lying out because marketing wise, honestly, he could sign for $500 million for 8 years, 9 years, but he could double that in marketing, in doing things from the city of New York. I'm not saying he couldn't do that in LA. I'm just saying the visibility would be so seen regularly. That the LA and the Anaheim games are just a little too late.
Yeah, I agree. I think for him, listen, the list of suitors will be long, and he's only going to end up obviously one place. I'm looking at the chessboard and how teams are positioning themselves. This is such a generational talent, that you can't just say, all right, why don't we go get Shohei? You have to plan for this. You have to.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
You have to kind of line up your finances. To me, the Dodgers probably make the most baseball sense. If you look at, guys like Walker Buehler's out with Tommy John surgery. They didn't really spend a lot this offseason. They let Trey Turner walk. They let Justin Turner walk. They let a couple veteran guys. They didn't do.
Yeah, but they just did win a World Series, albeit in the asterisk 2020. Nevertheless, they have, and the Yankees haven't won in quite a few years. So if Yankees do not win this year or the Mets, you're going to see 2 very hungry teams to not only want to win with him because he can help you win, but also, it kind of eases the pain of not winning and hopefully having, that marketing arm.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's going to be the offseason of 2023 is going to be a really fun one to watch.
Hey, brother, thanks again for coming on. What a fun time we had. This was really a celebration for those that love baseball, love things international, and love people. Just like right here at the Ozone. Thanks, Albert, and thanks for you guys for listening. We'll be back next week and take you on some more interesting Ozone tales. Stay with us.
You say to me, I don't talk enough, but
The 2015 All-Star Game features the 4 greatest living baseball players. Hank Aaron, Johnny Bench, Sandy Koufax, and Willie Mays, who are all absolutely amazing players in their own right. But I'm in the room sitting next to my grandfather, Yogi Berra. And I'm thinking, wait a second. He's got more MVPs than any of these guys. He's won more World Series rings than all 4 of them combined. And I look at him and I said, are you dead? And he said, not yet.
One of the greatest World Series resumes of any player ever.
Hey, he got it done. He was a winner because he had all the rings to prove it.
He's the figure that was larger than life.
There's no Jackie without the acceptance of Yogi Berra.
When Yogi comes to the team, they say he doesn't look like a Yankee.
He wasn't 6'3" with blonde hair. Everything about him was kind of funny.
He was a character. He was made fun of in the New York press.
But that sort of became who Yogi Berra was, this funny little guy.
That's right. Yogi Berra.
I don't think Yogi liked it too much.
The Yogi-isms. Let's talk about the Yogi-isms.
He said nobody goes to that restaurant anymore. It's too crowded.
When you get to a fork in the road, take it. What?
And it ain't over till it's over.
It makes a lot of sense.
That personality of his actually served to take away from his legacy as a baseball player.
It always felt wrong. It's not fair to him.
He's just a gentle, kind soul.
He was loved by so many people in this country.
Total respect for Yogi. A guy that everybody loved, not because he was cute and funny, it's because he was good and he was real.
He was the most overlooked superstar in the history of baseball.